What's up everybody, Noah from Stage 3 Motorsports here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to install this TruXedo X15 tonneau cover on a Toyota Tacoma. So let's get right into it. So first things first, we actually need to remove this bulkhead rail because there's some gaps on the edge where it's lining up with the bed rail, and we have some foam squares we need to put on there. It's just going to help to seal this up to keep dust out. And then we also have a rubber seal for the top of that bulkhead rail that's going to butt up to the tonneau once we get it on. This is basically just attached with 5 little screws underneath. You'll need a T30 Torx bit with some sort of driver. So I'm going to pull that off, stick the foam on, and then we'll reattach it, and then we can get to work on the actual tonneau. Now that we've got our bulkhead reattached with the rubber seals on it, you're gonna have 2 foam blocks that come in your kit, and these are gonna go on the ends right about here, and you're gonna wanna position it where it's about 1/4 inch above where the bed rail is at the top, so that way it's got some room to compress back and down, and this is just gonna fill that void. And then it also kind of keeps everything sealed once the tailgate's closed, so that way the tonneau doesn't have a gap at one end or the other. Now we need to work on getting our tonneau rails mounted to the bed rails on the truck. So when you grab your hardware, you're gonna have some of these L-shaped brackets. Basically, you're gonna want the longer end pointed down, and you're gonna use a bolt here with a washer through the back, and then you're gonna have this kind of channel cut section that's gonna thread on, and that's gonna allow you to slide this into the cargo rail and gives you a platform to actually mount the tonneau rail on top of. So we're gonna mount these here on the side, get the rail put on top of that, and we'll do it on both ends, but you're gonna wanna leave everything loose because we're gonna need to make some adjustments. So we're starting here with the driver's side rail, and when you're positioning these on the truck, this big threaded section for adjustment is what's going to go towards the bulkhead, and then obviously the section that latches at the back is going to be where the tailgate is, so make sure that you don't get these flip-flopped. And we're going to set this into place. Now you're going to need to dip back into that hardware bag from your kit, and you're going to want to grab one of the screws, a nylock nut, and a washer. The screws are going to go through the top here, just drop into the bracket just like that. Then we'll add a washer underneath and the nylock nut after that. Okay, let's get that other rail attached. Now that we've got both rails attached loosely, we're gonna go ahead and hop out of the truck and close the tailgate up, and that's gonna kind of dictate where this is gonna sit lengthwise on the vehicle, and it'll kind of push it into the foam at the back so we get that proper seal. With the tailgate closed, you do want to double check that there's still just a little bit of gap between this rail and the inside of the tailgate. Usually about 1/8 of an inch is fine to give you that extra bit of play, and it'll still seal around it once we have the tonneau on, so don't worry about that. Now, dropping the tailgate back down, we're going to make a few more little measurements here. So you're going to probably want some blue painter's tape and then obviously a tape measure. Now, coming to the back of this rail, we're going to want to bring our tape measure up, and you essentially want the outside edge of the rail to be right at about 2 inches there, or if you're going with this little gap, that should be about 1/2 inch of space, so that way you get the right width on each side. Now, when you're adjusting this, you obviously don't want to lose that little bit of gap you had between the tailgate, so be careful. But I find that it helps to take some blue painter's tape to mark the corner out, so that way we know where it is. All right, now let's move around to the front. Up at the front by the bulkhead, you're gonna wanna slide your tape measure underneath, up against the bed rail, make sure that's sitting flat, and then we're gonna wiggle this to where it's right at about 2 5/8 inches out to this far edge. And once that's square, you can put some blue painter's tape down. Now we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Now we need to tighten down all of our brackets inside the bed rails, so we're going to start with a 13mm socket on an extension here to get all these bolts. With all the bottom brackets tightened up, we're going to take off the extension in that socket, and we're going to put on a 12-inch socket here, as well as grabbing a Phillips head screwdriver, and now we can do all these top screws and get everything locked into place. Okay guys, so now that the rails are all locked in, we are right on the final stretch. What you're gonna need to do is grab the tonneau itself, and there's a rubber seal along the back here. This is what's gonna go over the bulkhead. So we're gonna lift this into place and just kind of settle it into the channel. There we go. Now, once you've got it settled into place, you have these two big screw adjusters on each side, and those are going to kind of dictate the amount of tension that's on this tonneau when you pull it forward to lock it. We have ours backed out pretty far. You're going to have to do a little bit of trial and error with that, but typically they don't have to be in super far. You'll have a lot of room for adjustment there that you're not going to need. So to lock the actual tonneau into place, there's going to be two big plastic clips underneath here that you're going to need to shove forward that'll clip onto the rail, and that's what's going to actually hold this all together as one unit. Now, typically pushing on these, you're going to need a mallet or something because you won't be able to get quite enough pressure for it to just go on its own. So just a couple taps here should seat it. So with the straps undone, we can go ahead and roll the tonneau forward and make sure that everything lays out straight and that we can lock it into place. And once you get to the end here, you're just going to bring that lip over into the channel and give it some pressure downward. Now when you lock it down, it should be pretty tight, but if you have too much pressure and it's hard to push down, then you need to back those screws off and release some of that tension. If you have the opposite problem where it's not tight enough and it feels like it's going to be too loose, then you need to tighten those screws to apply some tension so that way it locks in. So let's roll it back, give it a little tweak, and then we should be set. There we go. All right, with the right amount of tension on the tonneau, we just need to make sure that that tailgate will close up, and it should bump against this rubber seal along the inside, so that way you do have a little bit of dust proofing on the back. And with that, it looks like everything's square. So that's gonna be a wrap on this TruXedo tonneau cover install. Once you've got it all dialed in, you're good to go and hit the road. Now, if you're interested in picking up one of these tonneaus for your Tacoma, head down in the description below, click those links. It's gonna shoot you over to our website, and I'll see you guys next time.